So we're early into March, and this is going to be my third update in my weight loss sort of fitness journey. And I'm really, really excited to how it's going. Some of you have been really kind in the comments on past videos saying how trim I've looked. I've been working so hard. So here's the update. Today I weighed in at 81.15 kilograms. So that's a loss of 8.75 kilos. I was 89.9 when the alarm bells went off at the end of Christmas. So I'm like, no, that is too close to 90. That is enough is enough. And I've just been on a mission ever since. Now, my original goal, if you like, back then was to try and get under 80 kilos for the summer. I'm actually doing really, really well with that. And I adjusted my goal thinking, actually, can I get into the middle range of what's healthy for my BMI is to 74? And now I'm sort of faced with a whole load of decisions. And this whole video is going to be about some of the decisions I've made so far and what I've adjusted as I've gone, and some of the decisions I'm going to make going forwards, because with this sort of data in mind, and the fact that the weather's still really bad outside and that Frontier 300 still looming on the 8th of June, I'm now trying to make some headway. But let me just show you through some stats because I'm so happy with this. Now, the body composition scales that I'm using are the Eufy P3s I've talked about before. I'm really, really enjoying using them. And I'm actually weighing myself twice a day against all recommendations of everybody that ever says about weight loss. The reason is that I really enjoy the feedback. Weighing myself in the evenings makes me reflect on what I've eaten that day, what I've drunk that day. I don't get sad and depressed about it. I'm like, okay, I had that to eat, I had that to drink, that's okay, that makes sense. When I wake up in the morning, sometimes you can lose like 1.5, sometimes even 2 kilos overnight. It's absolutely insane. But you wake up and you tend to look for those trends. I think it's always important to zoom out of the graph, which this is really good at, and look at where you've come, because there are definitely days where it goes up. But today, these are the headlines. So wait, I am now in the healthy range, which makes me feel so good. And right at the very top of that, don't get me wrong, but at least it's a big green box, which is amazing. My BMI is also just in the green, 24.2, 25 is the point. So we're not, in the clear, but it's definitely looking a whole lot better. It's nice to see things back in the green. Ultimate mission is to get everything absolutely bang in the middle. Body fat percentage down at 17.4. Now, a little thing here, for any of you that are using body composition scales, be aware that nearly all of them, Garmin, Withings, Eufy, they all have a standard mode and an athlete mode. I only just learned this almost at the start of February, and I did loads of research as to which mode I should be using, and I switched mode into the athlete mode. So nearly all of them suggest that if you're doing at least 8 hours a week of exercise and have a resting heart rate around 60 beats a minute, you should probably be using athlete mode. So the stats I've got in here right now say 86, but I'd already been up and doing things at that time. Generally speaking, as I wake up in the morning, my resting heart rate is around 60, 61, and I easily do 8 hours of exercise. So I switched it onto athlete mode. Now that means that they use a slightly different algorithm to work things out. So they give you a slightly lower body fat percentage and also slightly higher muscle mass as well. Now, I was initially skeptical about this, as probably some of you are as well. So what I did, I spent loads of time Googling, like, what is accurate? How do I work this out without going to a DEXA scanner or something like that? And there's loads and loads of pictures online of people that have had their bodies sort of analysed and what they look like, and you can sort of calculate it from that. So I'm going to put some pictures up on the screen right now of someone at 15% body fat and someone at 20% body fat. And I'm not going to take my shirt off, but I guarantee you I'm somewhere in between those two. So how accurate it is, I don't know. But what's important to me is that the trend is going in the right direction. My BMR, my basal metabolic rate, we're going to test that properly with the VO2 mask, but that's creeping up. That is really the sign that things are getting better. But I don't expect that to change much until I really up my exercise as well. What I'm really, really happy about is my water. When I first started this, I was really shocked to see that my general water levels were down at like 46%, like right the way down there in that low range. It was terrifying. Today, 56.7. Now, what I kind of knew but hadn't really thought about was you can't just drink 6 litres of water and hope, because you're just going to wee it all out. That requires some effort. That requires you taking on some nutrients to actually help your body absorb it. And I've really, really changed my diet, having loads more fruit and vegetables, taking a few vitamin supplements as well here and there. I'm not really sure how I feel about that, but it might have helped, it might hasn't. But what I have done is given up coffee. No particular reason at the time. I gave it up because it was just giving me some bad halitosis and I didn't really like that very much. And I thought, well, let's just give it up and see what happens. And well, to be honest, nothing happened. I didn't get any headaches. I didn't really miss it. So I just kind of rolled with it. And as a result, I've really noticed that my hydration levels have been creeping up and up and up and up. And that's only got to be a good thing. I definitely feel a whole lot better when I'm out cycling than I ever did. So that's got to be a good thing, right? Other things is that my body fat mass, etc., is all looking good. My bone mass, I've been really concentrating on with a bit of strength training and taking calcium and really like trying to look after my bones, etc. I've definitely got some way to come. What is interesting is that right now is my muscle mass is almost perfect for my end goal. So my end goal is to try and be 74 kilos and around 16% body fat. So really 63.6 kilograms, absolutely spot on. All I need to do now is just lose the body fat and it will be absolutely golden. Sounds easy, right? If there's one thing I learned from all of this process is really taking your time, but also remembering to zoom out and look how far you've come. And I zoom out on these graphs here and scroll through them. It's very easy day to day to think, oh, I'm not making progress and nothing's going fast enough. But you only got to scroll back to the 6th of January, 89.7 kilograms as to where I am now. And that makes me feel a whole lot happier about being on the right trajectory. So for the rest of this video, I'm going to show you some of the decisions I've been making and some of the strategies I've been employing to try and actually achieve this and how we're going to take this further forward into March. Now, we talked in the very first video of this little series about sort of the 11 elements of fitness and trying to make really good decisions as to make some clarity, if you like, on what to do with myself and how to get myself out of that little rut. Loads of you asked me questions about them and how I make those decisions. So today I thought we're at that point where we can talk about it because now I've got all these 11 points in front of me and we can talk about it. So just very quickly, these 11 things that I considered the elements, if you like, that make up the general term of fitness. Are you a fit individual? You'll generally have a good collection of these things. So coordination, proprioception, agility, balance, much more of the skill-based activities and more appropriate to certain other sports. So I'm going to put them to one side for now. Important, don't get me wrong, especially for off-road riding, time trialing, that sort of thing. We still need those things, but not the high priority stuff at the moment. The stuff I want to focus on are these. Speed, which is the ultimate metric. After we're all done with power and heart rate and aerodynamics, ultimately speed is the ultimate metric. It is, are you actually faster? So speed is pretty important. Cardiopulmonary efficiency is right up there. That is your heart rate and your lungs working together to deliver oxygen and nutrients around your body. Very important. Muscular endurance is the ability for you to actually exert force on an object for a length of time. Power is force times velocity, like we know that from our power meters. And it's not just about how much force, but actually how quickly you can apply that force. Very important to cyclists. Strength is just simply the sheer amount of force that you can exert on an object. And you can imagine someone very slowly straining to pick up 300 kilograms from the floor as opposed to really snatching it off the floor with a load of velocity. And then mobility, your flexibility, your range of movement, if you like. And of course, body composition. So these are the ones that I really sought out and was trying to make sense of what is important right now. And for me, I had to take speed out of the equation. That's an ego-based thing right now. I'm not competing. For me, speed was not that important. And then I thought, well, do you know what? Power isn't that important right now. It will be in the future, but it's not something that needs an urgent amount of attention from me. Then, of course, I did my VO2 test and I found out that my cardiopulmonary efficiency was absolutely appalling. So that for me became very, very important to sort out because that is a massive signal of longevity and general health is a VO2 max. So I really recognised I had a big weakness there and that became very important to me. My strength is okay. I'm still okay with my strength. I'm still deadlifting 120 kilos odd. It's not excellent, but it certainly doesn't need attention right now. My mobility, as you saw, definitely needed a bit of attention, but it wasn't necessarily the inhibiting thing. Now, sometimes it can be because if you can't do like basic range of movement stuff, then you can't even hope to work on your strength or your power or your coordination or anything if you can't actually move your body. So sometimes getting fit, mobility is absolute foundation. So for me, body composition became a thing. Recognized that I was definitely overweight. I had some weight to lose. So these two things became very important to me. Now, as I stand today, having lost the weight that I have, body composition becomes a little bit less important as I become back into a healthier range. My cardiopulmonary efficiency, I still don't think is excellent. I'm going to test it in a couple of weeks' time. We're going to do an intermediate one and give you an update on that. And I'll show you down in the turbo trainer why I believe that, because because I've been focusing on my body composition, I've been under fueling to be able to fully concentrate on this. So how things are going to go forward is body composition is still important. I still think I have a little month to go, but it's become increasingly less important. Cardiopulmonary has to become important, as does muscular endurance, because I'm going to be doing that big 300 kilometer ride, the Frontier 300. So that's going to need to have some high priority pretty soon. Now, with that, we're going to need some power. So some of the strength that I have a really good muscle definition and stuff at the moment, but I need to add some velocity behind it. I need to get quicker at moving. And so power is going to come from doing kettlebell movements and doing some more powerful cycling activities. Mostly mountain biking is brilliant for building power. I would really urge you to print these off and just have a think in your own mind. What's important for you right now? Which boxes do you tick? And what's going to become more important for you in the future? And don't ignore these coordination, proprioception, balance, especially if you are mountain biker, gravel rider, because ultimately to get faster, speed, remember, all of these things, can you corner, can you hold the momentum, can you get over challenging obstacles? All of that is going to transfer into ultimately speed. And that is the ultimate metric. Back in the turbo training studio now, but very quickly, Glucose Revolution, fantastic book. If you want to look more into what we've just been talking about, balancing your blood sugar and learning about the foods that spike your blood sugar and those that keep it balanced, this is a really good place to start. Anyway, last time we were in here, I talked about doing some workouts that were trying to work on my VO2 max, but ultimately I didn't think I was conditioned enough to be doing full VO2 max workouts. The workout in front of us now is what we've been trying to get to almost. We're not quite there yet. If I tried to do this workout back in January, I would have just failed. It wouldn't have been a VO2 max workout. I'm only just now been able to make this a full VO2 max workout. So this is, if you've been following the Norwegian Method, you know about this. This is 4 minutes on, 3 minutes off, ideally repeating it 4 to 5 times. At the moment, 3 is about my limit. So I've been trying to build up to that. So doing one block and then doing intervals, then another block and then doing some more intervals, gradually building up the stamina to be able to do 3 blocks, which I've just done successfully. The next challenge is to sort of build on to doing 4. So what happens here on this workout, this green and orange bit you can see is the workout. We do a warm-up, which I'll put back in the other video to show you. Standard warm-up, every single time we train, exactly the same warm-up. So this is 1.5% gradient for 4 minutes. Now the 1.5% gradient is to ensure that I can change my gears and balance whatever intensity that I want to. So I'm not being held to a certain power by the turbo trainer. And that's really important because what we're trying to achieve is this time in zone. This workout is all about maximizing my time in VO2 max zone, which in this case was 10 minutes and 6 seconds. So I'm really chuffed with that. It's a really good quality VO2 max workout. And the rest of the time is all spent in active recovery, about 20 minutes worth of recovery. And I promise you, this workout is hard. Like, you are breathing hard. At this point here, when that load comes off, you are exhausted, hanging off your handlebars, your legs are just stopped. But what we do, rather than trying to do it by power or heart rate, we do it off muscle oxygen. Remember, we use these little sensors onto our legs, and that looks at the saturation of oxygen in our muscle cells, essentially. So we get 2 bits of data out of here. One is it counts all the hemoglobin under that sensor, works out which one's a dark red, works out which one's a light red, and gives you a percentage of those 2. So we get an idea of the inflow of hemoglobin and the outflow of it, but also which of those blood cells are carrying oxygen. So you get this live trace. So up on this graph here, you can see this is the blue line. This is that saturation of muscle oxygen as a percentage. The red line here, the dark red line, is the total hemoglobin. So we get to see how my capillaries open and close as they meet certain occlusions, or my muscles contract. It's your body's way of trying to keep control of your blood flow, because your body will always try and prioritize oxygen to your vital organs, the working muscles and then the non-working muscles. So it uses the capillaries to make sure it directs oxygen as to where the body needs it. And then the top trace is my heart rate. And VO2 max isn't maximum heart rate, unlike intervals. It's like the next little bit down, like zone 5, if you like. So purpose of this is when we start this load, go hard and fast into that workout. Really, really put the extra effort in. And I coach it to say, get into as much oxygen debt as you possibly can, and then hold on to that debt. Keep this line depressed as long as you possibly can for the whole 4 minutes. Like, really go for it. It should be an absolute max effort. Then when the load comes off here, that's when you see this resaturation. That happens because you're now breathing really heavily. Your heart rate's really high. So you're intaking loads of oxygen, but you're not using it. So you get this big rush as all your muscle cells absorb oxygen again. So that's what we're looking for. And you see this big opening up here of the capillaries that allows all that to come in. Heart rate comes down rapidly. We get 3 minutes recovery. And the idea is we replicate that again. We're tired, we're not fully recovered. We go again. Now, the power output might not be the same. So if I'm trying to do this on power, I'd probably find I'm doing like 400 or 500 watts here, maybe 300, 220, 200, like slowly dying in terms of power. And if I was concerned about that, I'd be backing off. But because we're working on muscle oxygen, my main priority is keeping this line as low down as I possibly can. Back in January, this blue line was somewhere down like in the 16, 17%. Now I'm only achieving like 35%. So something's definitely happening with my metabolism. I'm not going into it as highly fueled on blood sugar as I used to be. And I think that's probably a byproduct of that, but I'm still getting the good quality workout. I am still putting my cardiopulmonary system under stress. And so long as you're doing that in a sustainable way that doesn't overly fatigue you, you will be making progress with your VO2 max. And I know that I am, because there is no way back in January I could have done this workout to the extent that I can do it right now, which is 3 good solid 4-minute blocks of absolutely rock bottom SMO2, saturation of muscle oxygen, seeing these sort of recoveries. So program going forward is to try and get that 4th, possibly even the 5th block of 4 minutes, probably by the time we stop turbo training, which is about early April. So I'll let you know my progress and how it's actually working. And when we get the mask back, our VO2 master has just gone off the service. So in about 2 weeks' time, I'm going to do my VO2 test and show you guys, hopefully, if I've made any sort of progress or not. One of the things I've been using to help me keep a track of my energy levels and my nutrition a bit is I've been using these continuous glucose monitors. You might have seen them. I've actually used them before on the channel, way back in the very early days, like when we were streaming to our gym audience here through COVID. And we got in touch with the guys at Super Sapien, and Super Sapien provided those at the time. Now, Super Sapien is more of an athlete version of this, whereas this one's more in use for diabetics. Now, the Super Sapien was ideal for athletes. The whole app and everything else is built around monitoring blood sugar from an athlete's perspective. What I've got here is actually it's a freebie, to be fair. Not provided through the YouTube channel. It's legitimate. You guys can go and get yourself a freebie as well. If you go to the Abbott LibraSense website, I'll put the links down below. They're offering a free trial on these at the moment. Now, it doesn't give you access to all the athlete apps, but it does give you access to the diabetic apps. Now, I have to say, these are fantastic. I swear to God, if they issued these just for 2 weeks to everyone in the population to really understand what sort of impact certain foods were having on them, we'd probably end up with less diabetics actually needing these to keep a track of things. They really are incredible. They're just a little thing, they stick to you like this, and they connect to an app, and they give you a live, continuous readout of your glucose in your blood. It doesn't work quite like that. It actually drops a little filament into the subcutaneous layer, and then a little algorithm sorts other things out. But the live feed is absolutely fascinating. So let me just flip my phone on here and you guys can see exactly what I'm seeing. Right now, it's about 3:30 in the afternoon. I had quite a late lunch. So this spike you can see going on is my body responding right now to a fairly big lunch. For that lunch, I had 2 chicken breasts and I had a whole bunch of broccoli and a couple of potatoes. So there's a whole load of different nutrients in there. My body, quite rightly, is increasing in its blood glucose. So I'm not diabetic, so I don't expect my insulin system to have a particular problem with this, and that should see that coming down, especially if I get up from now and start actually doing some exercise. I'll see that actually take control. But what is interesting, I can look back and look at my daily graphs over time. So this is my daily graph today. So far, my daily routine has been to get up, have breakfast, hung around for a little bit at home where you see my blood sugar drop a little bit, and then I walked into work where it spiked again. Generally speaking, you'll get a little bit of a lift as your body sort of metabolizes lipids through that insulin system and then releases blood glucose back out again. Then I've been at work, fairly heavy day. You saw it crash a little bit. I was going, whoa, I'm getting a bit hungry. And now I've had some food and it's moving on. This has really taught me how to time my meals and make sure I've got enough energy to get through my day and my workouts, but at the same time, making sure that my blood sugar is nice and low when I actually want it to be low, i.e. when I'm going to enter a sort of a state of fast and go to sleep. Now, going back over this history, this was yesterday, for instance. This is a fascinating graph because this is when I did that turbo training session we're about to talk about. And you can see my same pattern, sleeping. This is about 7 o'clock. Then I have my breakfast, have a little bit of a crash. I walk into work. Then my day goes through as my blood sugar depletes throughout that working day. A big flood of glucose, if you like, straight after my dinner, gradually comes back down. And those spikes you can see at the end are the turbo training session where it spiked, crashing from that turbo training session as I went into the room and did some mobility exercises and cooled down. And then it's spiking again on the walk home. So that's not eating that caused that spike. That's just doing more exercise caused that spike. And it comes back down, and then I go to sleep, and you can see it remains stable. Going back through this history, I have learned so much about how to time my meals and also what meals really affect me. So for instance, I really learned early on that porridge, oats, was a massive spike for me that took me way outside my range, and my insulin system was really struggling to keep up with that, and I felt the effects. Other people can eat porridge absolutely no problem. So this has definitely changed my eating habits, and I'll definitely recommend anyone giving it a go. They're actually really simple. In fact, this one is actually at the end of its life. It's only got a couple of hours to go, so I can probably show you by removing it. This is, they stick on quite well, and it's just this tiny little needle here that sort of flips down into your skin. It's quite flexible, so when you rip it off, it's not like a needle. It's a filament that sits inside your subcutaneous layer. They last about 14 days. And you don't really feel them. Every now and then you might roll over in your sleep or something, or knock it and you might feel it. And they are a bit disposable. I do feel a bit bad for that, but I swear to God, try one of these. You will learn so much about your fueling, even in the 2 weeks that you get on a freebie. Give it a go. The plan, the way forward for March. Now, it's taken me loads of thinking to get this right. Should I start training now for the Frontier 300, or should I continue this weight loss journey? And I think I've decided to continue my weight loss journey. One, I am really enjoying it. I want to roll with it right now, and I can really feel the benefits of doing it. So I want to keep it going. So I've set myself this new goal, 78 kilos-ish by the end of March. That's kind of a bit of a key date for us, because at the end of March, we're going off to see Stephen Bartlett speak, and I'm really looking forward to that. It's also going to be a time when I can go and buy some new clothes, because like none of my clothes fit me anymore. So I need to go to a city and like get a new wardrobe. So that's going to be like my key point, is to do that. So right now, 81.15, trying to get to 78 and around 17% body fat by the end of March. I think that's going to be a really positive place to be, because it means that I can probably eat a bit of carbohydrate without gaining all the weight again, and then think about how I'm going to fuel my training. A couple of key things. One, it gives me 70 whole days from the 29th of March to the 8th of June for the Frontier 300, which kind of gives me quite a lot of cycles to go through that build and recovery phase. Got a couple of things in there that I need to think about in terms of periodization. So in April, after the Tour of Caledonia, which is a 208 kilometer ride, 2,500 meters of ascent, you can do that over 2 days, a little bit of a bike packing trip. I'm really looking forward to that. Hope the weather's going to be okay. It's a bit of a risk going in April. Then we're off to Mallorca. And my goal for Mallorca is just to ride all day, every day. I want to be up straight out of breakfast, coming back just in time for dinner. Just want to be outside in the sunshine and riding my bike. I've got no other particular goals apart from smashing up hills or any sort of times. I just want a really good, solid hours and hours of riding. I'm so looking forward to that. That leaves me with May to really dedicate myself to training. So that's going to be a 2-to-1 ratio of build and recovery. And luckily I can do that in the weekend. So like 9 days, if you like, of build. So that's the weekend plus a week hard, and then you back off the next week. So in that week of training, I can actually eat properly and fuel my workouts. And in the recovery, I can nourish my recovery. We'll do more of that in April. And then, we need to start getting ready for the Frontier 300. And that means more than just being fit. That means like preparation, make sure my bikes are ready, all my clothes fit, all my repair kit, got all my nutrition sorted. There's so much to do, because that is going to be a pretty epic day out. Once that's done, for me, I enter hay fever season. I am the world's worst hay fever sufferer. I hate it, and it completely ruins my summer in terms of fitness gains. And I think that's the time to get back on the weight loss. We'll see if we can hit that 74 kilos, 15% somewhere during hay fever season, meaning that we should hopefully enjoy end of summer, early autumn at absolute peak fitness. See how it goes.